Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So we begin our lesson with the explanation on the mental factors, in the sense that we explained the universals, sabbachitta sadharana cetasikas, the mental factors that accompany all the 89 or 121 chittas. We learned that there are 89 or 121 chittas, right? So all these 89 chittas are accompanied, constantly accompanied. No chitta can arise without these universals. Now, these are the universals. Universals, that term itself permits us that all the minds, all the chittas that exist in this world, or world beyond, in the sense, the chittas of enlightened beings, they all contain these universals: contact, feeling, perception, volition, one-pointedness, mental vitality, attention. Without these, chitta will not find any way of capability to function. So even in the Buddhas, even in the realms of divine or Brahma, among the humanity, wherever the chitta is, wherever the consciousness, the mind is, that mind contains these mental factors called universals. We discussed about this in our last lesson, and with that, today we shift on to the rest. What are the rest? The occasionals, six. Six occasionals, in the sense, they are also part of the universals, but they don't arise all the time in all the chittas equally. So, finding the right occasion, these chittas generate. Finding the right occasion. That's the understanding. When they are called occasionals, in Pali we call them Prakinnakas, Cetasikas, Prakinnakas, occasionals. What are the occasionals? These are the six occasionals: initial application, sustained application, decision, energy, zest, desire to act, vitakka vichara adhimukha, virya piti chanda. So these are the six occasionals. Now, when we are going through one by one, explaining the meanings and their functions, their manifestations, we'll understand why they are not happening all the time. But occasionally, when our mind desires or when our mind wants their help, asking for the assistance of these cetasikas, they arise. Now, first one is vitakka. Now, I'm pretty sure you are not alien to this, or this term is not familiar. This term is a familiar one, and of course, we were doing it in our lessons on the chittas, when we were doing the fine matter as per chittas, vitakka was discussed. Vitakka is basically, in the meditative sense, bringing your attention to the object, directing your attention, mind and its mental factors all together, bringing to a singular object is vitakka. That's the function of vitakka. Mind and mental factors. The entire system of cognitive, entire system of cognizing is directing to a singular object is what do we call vitakka. Yeah. But in the suttas, you may find vitakka in the sense of ideas, thoughts, reasoning. You will find this term called yam vitakketi tang sanjanati. If you think about something, you understand that, something like that. So in suttas, vitakka is usually indicating something that you think, or simply your thoughts. But in Abhidhamma, as well as when we discuss the mental factors related to concentration, related to your meditation, vitakka is nothing but the directing nature or directing mental factor of our mind towards a selected object. Characteristic lifts chitta to the object. Abhiniropana, that's the term. The lifting of the chitta to the object. Just like this, imagine there is an announcer in a function, and this announcer is introducing, getting someone, a speaker, to the podium, initially introducing this speaker, this newly come speaker, to the audience. One who has come to give a speech is being introduced by that announcer. Is initially that kind of introduce, that bringing attention to an object, to a particular object. Function is lifting the chitta to the object, right? Then it strikes the object, forcing the object is pursued and links the chitta to the object. Yeah. And vitakka, now let's say this can happen in both the moral and immoral sense. A robber thinking of robbing someone, he will bring an idea of robbing to his mind. Yeah. That bringing of the idea, bringing of that notion to the plan to the mind, also vitakka. And the meditator bringing an object of meditation to his concentration. A devotee bringing a notion to his mind about doing something, in both the situation of wholesome and unwholesome. Vitakka is there. So Vitakka is something especially important in the cases, in the occasions when the mind specifically wants to generate certain action, certain function, certain situation. You bring that idea to your mind. That bringing of the idea to your mind is vitakka. So basically, it is unmoral. It doesn't have any relationship with morality in the sense that it can turn into moral or immoral, wholesome or unwholesome, according to the object and the situation. Plays an important part in thinking. That's what we were talking about, right? Thinking in the sense, thinking a specific subject area. Only when we are directing our mind to such a specific, such a selected area of subject, then the vitakka is manifesting. That's why it is an occasional. It is not a universal. It is an occasional in the sense only in such occasions that the vitakka is manifesting. It starts the train of thought and accompanies kusala and akusala chittas. Basically, it is unmoral, but in accordance with the wholesome and unwholesome circumstances, it is manifesting. Yeah. Of course, the explanation is here. You can read when they mentally scan object in the function of javana, mental impulses. When developed, it becomes the foremost factor of the first jhana. It is then termed appana, known as samadhi. This term appana is the developed level of concentration, also called it samadhi, is nothing but that developed vitakka. In meditation, when the vitakka, that bringing of the mind to the object, when it is developed, it is called appana or samadhi. And samadhi is nothing but what began as vitakka. Inhibited in subsequent jhanas owing to habitual association with the object. Example, first time visit the place and subsequent visits. Now, when we go to a place as someone totally new, we are unaware of the establishment, we are unaware of the situations there, we are unaware of the experiences there. That's how when vitakka arises at first. But when we are moving on to the same place, same circumstance again and again, then that vitakka is becoming something usual for us, and that the vitakka, what we call appana or samadhi in the meditation. In meditation, vitakka itself turned into samadhi. When vitakka is present in the lokuttara magga citta, supramundane path consciousness, it is termed samma sankappa. Right? Samma sankappa in the Eightfold Noble Path is none other than the vitakka in the mode of supramundane, in the mode of lokuttara citta. Samma sankappa. And what does the samma sankappa do? Samma sankappa eliminates, get rid of, kama vitakka, vyapada vitakka, vihingsa vitakka. That's what the samma sankappa does. Now, we know very clearly when we are practicing our concentration, Again, we bring our mind to a certain object and keep our mind there. That is vichara, of course. Keep our mind there. We bring into our mind is vitakka. But when vitakka is manifested in the supramundane, in the lokuttara chittas, when it is developing towards our liberation, then that vitakka subdues or eliminates thoughts of sensual pleasures, thoughts of anger, and thoughts of harmfulness. Yeah, these are the thoughts that eliminate, of course, through vipassana. Through vipassana, this generation of vitakka in the form of samma sankappa develops the thoughts of non-attachment to sensual pleasures, thoughts of love, and thoughts of harmlessness. Eliminating the opposites of sensual desire, anger, and harmfulness, develop desirelessness for sense pleasures, metta, love, and harmlessness. Vitakka of jhana consciousness temper inhibits hina midda, sloth and torpor. Yeah. When vitakka arises, when you are approaching towards meditation, of course, the enemies of that approach is sloth and torpor. That sloth and torpor should be subdued, should be suppressed for the vitakka to arise. They don't arise together, they don't coexist. The second occasional is vichara. Vichara, to move or wonder. We bring a train of thought, a train of thoughts to our mind. That's the vitakka. When we move on that in that train, we continue to move on in that train of thought. That's vichara in the general sense. General translation, investigation, consideration, continue to think on that particular subject area. Now, Abhidhamma says it is the continuous exercise of the mind on the object, characteristic examination, anumajjana. So, vitakka is uplifting the object to the mind. Vichara is examination of that object. Hovering above the object with continued pressure and investigating it. Function, continuous application of the mental factors to the perceived object. So this is, in a way, repeating what I said earlier. It is the continued pressure, continued hang around, hovering over the subject area that was uplifted to your consciousness. Manifests as anchoring of mental factors on the object. It is, yes, firmly establishing. Present in the first and second jhanas, quietens down from the third jhana onwards. Mental factors no longer need to be anchored in object of concentration. Now, vitakka and vichara, basically, in the five jhana teachings of the Abhidhamma, only in the first and second jhanas, vitakka and vichara is obviously there to see. But when we move to the third, fourth, fifth jhanas, vitakka and vichara is obviously not to be seen. Yeah, but they are in the background. Some said whole meditation entire meditation techniques taught by the Buddha and taught by others. All these techniques are nothing but based on vitakka and vichara. In fact, meditation is nothing but vitakka and vichara. Vitakka vichara. Bringing the mind to the object, bringing the object to the mind, or mind to the object. Yes. Then hovering over that object, hanging around that object, being stick to that object, anchoring your mind onto that object. Vitakka vichara, vitakka vichara. That's the meditation, entire meditation. The rest of the experiences are byproducts of that vitakka and vichara. Rest of your development are nothing but the byproducts of vitakka and vichara. So meditation is none other than vitakka vichara. Yeah. And it arises in our mind. Remember, Lord Buddha Gautama does not produce anything new to explain. Buddha is trying its best to explain what's going there in our mind. It is there within us. Vitakka is there. Vichara is there. Naturally there. Yeah. Like a teacher who wants to talk on a subject area. He comes to the class, standing in front. He brings that subject to the class. And then he continued to talk on that subject, explaining on that subject. The vitakka and vichara. It is there all the time happening in our minds. Yeah. Then the third mental factor is adhimokka, decision. Yeah. Now that Pali term, we find that yang vitakketi tan sanjanati. Whatever you think you understand, that understanding comes from where? Comes from this adhimokka, decision. Why this is an occasional? Because understanding is not strong in certain chittas. Now, for example, moha mula chittas. There are two chittas rooted in delusion, right? Remember? Upekka sahagata uddacca sampayutta chitta. Yeah. The chitta based on restlessness. Upekka sahagata vichikicca sampayutta chitta. The chitta, the consciousness rooted in doubt. Now, these two chittas, when they exist within us, can you find any decision there? Adhimokka is absent there, right? Since adhimokka is absent, adhimokka is not a universal one, not present in all the chittas. It is an occasional one. Only when that decision is strong or obvious, clear to us, then adhimokka is there. Adhimuch, to release onto. That's the usual translation we find according to the roots. Decision frees the mind from doubt. Obviously, characteristic, decision of choosing or conviction. Non-wavering is the function. Decisiveness is how it is manifest. Opposite is vichikicca. I said, yeah, when the doubt is there, anything about anything, when you have doubts, the decision is not there. Compared to a judge deciding on a case or a steady pillar. Decision is like that when your mind has decided, firmly decided that something as it is, something as exactly as it is. When your mind comes to the decision, this chitta, this mental factor is there to confirm it. Yeah, that's the decision, which is an occasion, adhimokha. Then comes the energy, virya. Roots is ach, to go, air is a substitute. Yeah. Refers to someone who continues his or her work diligently without a break, or sometimes even heroically. Someone who persists his deed without collapsing, relapsing, falling down, continuing his deed. That's someone who is with energy, who is with virya. Yeah. Then defined as the state of action of energetic persons, or that which is affected or carried out. A person of energy, a person who has this virya, is such a energetic person, such a strong character who doesn't change his direction for any obstacles or disturbances. Character thing and sustaining. Virya is up, supporting and assisting. Support in the army, in battlefields, whenever a group of heavily attacked, reinforcements come to make them and fight. Yeah, like those of reinforcement. Support the members, not giving up. Now, for example, when do you summon energy to your mind? You summon that energy when you find that you are collapsing, that you are not getting what you want. Yeah. Now, people always think about this. They bring this idea to the mind. Do it anyway. Have you heard this? Do it anyway, no matter what happens. Then let's say you are in such a backward thinking. You are in a negative kind of a fallen down situation that, okay, I'm done. I cannot do this. I cannot continue this. I am finished. Then we somehow, at that rock bottom, still we summon certain energy to our mind. No, I will do it anyway. I will continue anyway, no matter what. That's the energy. That's the mental factor. Uplift that fallen down, collapsed levels of consciousness, levels of mind. Your thinking has become so negative. You think your world is over, I'm done. Then you bring a mental factor, energy, virya. No, I'll do it anyway. I'll do it anyway. That's the mental factor, energy, virya, that support to continue your persisting. Is it a universal? No, it is not a universal, because there are certain chittas where the mental factor of energy is not found. So it is an occasion. Proximate cause, sense of urgency. Sense of urgency. Now, have you heard this word samvega? Samvega? Usually it translates as samvega, for the Sinhalese. For us, it is translated as certain feeling of sadness. Yeah. Have you heard this word pasada samvega? Pasada samvega. Yeah. To Sinhala, it is translated as pahan samvega. Pali pasada samvega. Buddha said, visit the places where I was born, where I was enlightened, where I gave my first Dhamma teaching, Isipatana, Benares, where I passed away. Visit these places. Now today, from all over the world, Buddhists visit there. For what? Basically, they visit, of course, traditional Buddhists, they visit basically to generate merits, maybe, to generate greater merits than in any other place. They visit these places as thinking as something holy. But when Buddha invited his followers to come and visit those places, what was his intention? His intention was to generate pasada sangvega, to generate a certain urgency within you, sangvega, an urgency within you, a human being just like me, was striving so hard and attained to such a superhuman state, a state that even divine beings worshipping, Brahmas worshipping him. He became an object of worship to the entire world. Everybody was looking for him as their master, looking for him, seeking guidance from him. Now, when you visit those places, with that visit, you generate that sense of urgency. As you visited your masters, the places of birth, his enlightenment, his passing, his first Dhamma talk, that feeling, that experience would generate within you to pursue your own practice with an urgency. That's the idea. So sense of urgency is what is meant. Sense of urgency for what? Sense of urgency to pursue your own practice without delaying, without, thinking that I can practice later in my old age. No. Today itself, now onwards, you practice to become mindful, more and more aware, to generate that sense of urgency. You should visit those places. That's what the Buddha said. He didn't say, okay, when you visit my places, you will generate great merits. No, he didn't say such a thing. Yeah. He said, you will hasten for your liberation with the visit to those places. So it is better you visit those places. That's what he said. Sense of urgency. Pasada sangveg. Right? So this energy is created within us, that sense of urgency or anything that inspires vigorous action is nothing but generating the mental factor of virya within you. In the meditative process, considered as valuable, powerful friend because it can overcome laziness and sluggishness. Yeah. In the meditation, we usually say, if you feel sleepy, bring energy. How to bring energy? Keep a smile on your face. That's one way of bringing energy. Then you visualize light there. You are closed eyes. Everything is dark. You visualize light, sense of urgency, and I mean energy. Energy is there with that. Or you think that, no, I should not get up. I must continue practicing. That's virya. Regarded as a controlling factor, indriya, because it overcomes idleness. Regarded as one of the 5 powers, bala. because it cannot be shaken by idleness. One of the four means of accomplishing one's ends, iddhipada, chanda chitta virya vimansa, one of the means of accomplishing any of the goals in our life, mundane or supramundane. They are called iddhipadas. Virya is one of them. Virya appears as one of the four modes of supreme efforts, sammapadhana. Yeah. Sublimated as one of the seven factors of enlightenment, satta bojjhanga. Yeah, one of them. One of the eight factors of the Noble Eightfold Path, attangika magga. Yeah, samma vayama. In the Eightfold Noble Path, samma vayama is there. And root of all achievements, virya, energy, is considered as the root of all achievements as well. Do you know that there is a Buddha called Buddha who based on virya, who based on energy? Right now, Gautam the Buddha, his base is wisdom. Panya he's a Panyadika Bodhisattva. He is a Bodhisattva who cultivated wisdom better than other factors. There are Buddhas who cultivated energy better than other factors. They are based on energy. They are called Viryadika Bodhisattvas, who are based on energy. Then comes zest, piti. We discussed so far vitakka, vichara, adhimokka. Right? Now, piti. Piti, zest. Now, when we were discussing the mental factors for fine material jhanas, we discussed piti already. Piti is like what? Zest is like what? It is like seeing an oasis in a desert. You are walking in a desert for days and days without proper bathing, water, or food. You are so tired, so emaciated. Yeah, you are scorched under the scorching sun. You are so hungry, and there comes an oasis in your appearance. An oasis appeared to you. What kind of joy you will experience seeing that oasis? That's piti. That's zest. Yeah, that's how in commentaries we are to see the zest is being explained. Piti. Root is pi. Zest, joy or pleasurable interest. Pleasurable interest. Just like seeing that oasis. Pleasurable interest. Found in both wholesome and unwholesome consciousness. Piti is there. Remember when we were discussing about the unwholesome chittas, lobha mula chittas, chittas rooted in greed? It is there. Somanasa sahagata is there. That joy is there. So pleasant, unpleasant, both chittas, wholesome, unwholesome, both chittas contain piti. Characteristic, endearing or pleasant interest in an object. Seeing an object, as I said, you see, the example, seeing an oasis in a desert, what kind of interest you generate? That interest is piti. Maybe the object is not wholesome, object may be unwholesome. Still, that interest is what we mean by piti. That interest, yeah, for an unwholesome person, for a person whose mind is unwholesome, seeing something wholesome will not generate piti or zest within him, right? But for an unwholesome person, for a person who is into bad, seeing something bad Seeing something parallel to his mind will bring him happiness. That's how it is. For a person who is immoral, seeing a Buddha image will not bring happiness for him. So, piti is not about the object. Piti is the interest in the subject, and when that interest is fulfilled, what kind of happiness, what kind of experience that human being is experiencing, that is called piti. Function, refresh the body and mind and give a sense of excitement and of being deeply touched. That's the function of piti, refreshing the body and mind. When you are happy, your mind is refreshed. Manifest as elation or rapture, inhibits, suppress what? Ill will or aversion. Anger is not there when the piti is manifesting. 5 grades of piti. This is something to experience in the meditation. Uddaka piti, a light sense of joy, like hair is rising on your, on the body, hair rising kind of feeling. Khanika piti, that means like a lightning is struck. Lightning, it is striking. It's arise and vanish so fast, arise and vanish. It's a momentary joy. Kantika piti, showering joy. Yeah, just like a bucket of water falling on your head and whole body is drenched with the water. Yeah, showering joy. Then the Ubega Piti, uplifting joy. Your body, literally your body is uplifted and levitating. In the past, the meditators have experienced. Why in the past? Even today, that's a possibility. Harana Piti, pervading joy. That means like a flood inundating, submerging a certain land. Your whole body, whole life is submerged in that piti. These are the types of piti, types of meditative joy, that piti, that zest one can experience in meditation. I personally myself can say this first and the second piti is something I experienced myself. I know it very well. So there's no possibility, there is no impossibility. Why the rest of the pitis, rest of the types of joy, one cannot experience. Also in samatha meditation, joy is one of the factors of absorption. One of the factors of absorption. That means in the meditation, you will bound to experience this as one of the mental factors, jhana factors. In vipassana, one of the 7 factors of awakening. Yeah, Sattva Bojjhangas, 7 factors of enlightenment. Piti is one of them. Yeah. The chanda, it comes from the root called chad, to wish. Characteristic, to wish, the wish to do. Kattu kamyata chanda. Now, chanda also translated as desire. Yeah. But desire is basically, inherently, about something unwholesome. Desire is not a wholesome characteristic, wholesome event of our mind. Desire is inherently unwholesome. But chanda is, again, unmoral. Unmoral. Because it is basically based on what you are wishing to do. Maybe a bad thing, maybe a good thing. Yeah, that depends on the situation. But that wish to do is chanda. Yeah, it's like stretching out the hand to grasp an object. This is chanda. You extend your hand to grasp something. Your mind is moving, leading something to do. Searching for an object, yeah. Function is searching for an object, manifests as the wish and intention to experience an object. The unmoral chanda is much softer, hence it is distinguished from unwholesome lobha. Yeah. So chanda is unmoral in the sense, basically, itself, it doesn't belong to wholesome or unwholesome. Chanda, yeah, it is separated from lobha. But you remember, lobha or craving and chanda manifests in the same manner. Example that we gave, this stretching out a hand to pick up an object, can be given, yeah, to greed as well, to the craving as well. Craving also looking for something to collect, looking for something to grasp. Chanda also same thing, looking for something to collect or grasp. Yeah. But chanda is unmoral in the sense it doesn't itself belong to moral or immoral things. But when we say craving, the craving is always about something unwholesome. Yeah, it is an unwholesome characteristic. But chanda is, maybe you are desirous, or you are wishing to do some meditation, let's say. That also driven by certain type of longing. Yeah, a wish is there, wish to meditate, wish to share something, wish to give a service. These are moral things. But can you say desire to meditate, desire to give? Impossible, right? Yeah. When we even say desire to do something good, then we can see that that intention is not good. Intention is not something wholesome. And yeah, I hope you understand this. So unmoral chanda is much softer than that immoral lobha or greed. Three kinds of chanda is there. Kama chanda. Now this is when the chanda is in the wrong side. Chanda is related to something unwholesome. Sensual craving. It is one of the five hindrances of meditation. Yeah, pancha nivarana dhamma. First one is kama chanda, desire for sense pleasures. Ethically immoral because sense desires leads to suffering and delays realization of ultimate happiness. Your meditation is disrupted. You cannot get into any absorptions, any concentration when the kama chanda is powerful in the mind. Second chanda is kaptu kamyata chanda. Wish to do something. Wish to do something. Something means anything, good or bad, doesn't matter again, right? Ethically unmoral. Yeah. Then comes the Dhamma chanda, righteous wish for deeper wisdom. Like Buddhists have this wish for realization of Nibbana. Yeah. Now, that wish to may I be attained to Nibbana is also kind of a longing, but we can see that chanda is to be designated as Dhamma chanda. It is not something we try to possess. Yeah. But that longing quality is there. Longing quality is there. Now, these are the similes we find for virya, piti, chanda. The effort of cognition or will is due to virya. Piti signifies the interest in the object. chanda constitutes the intention with respect to the object. Yeah. So far, we talked about 7 universals and 6 occasionals. 7 universals are also, Sabba Chitta Sadhana Cetasikas. 6 occasional mental factors, Prakinnakas, are called Anya Samana Cetasikas. Both these, yeah, both these 7 universals. What are the 7 universals? Passa, Vedana, Ekaggata, Jivitindriya, Manasikara. Yeah. 7 universal mental factors, and the occasionals we just talked about, Vitakka, Vichara, Piti, Chanda, Piti, Virya, Chanda. These 6 occasionals and 7 universals both together are called Anya Samana. Yeah. Anya Samana, in the sense that they are similar to wholesome and unwholesome chittas. Yeah, they arise both in wholesome and unwholesome chittas. That's why they are called Anya Samana. Yeah, they can work together with both wholesome and unwholesome types of consciousness. That's it. We talked about the 6 occasionals. Yeah, that, and we completed the group called Anya Samana Cetasikas, which comprised of 7 universals and 6 occasionals. All right. So with that, we conclude this class, and see you next week on Saturday, same time, with our next lesson on the Sobhana Cetasikas, the chittas, mental factors related to the wholesome side, Sobhana Chittas, we are going to discuss. And then we are going to discuss the Asobhana Cetasikas, so unwholesome Cetasikas. And with that, the lesson on mental factors would be over. Right? So if you find anything to ask, you can write in our WhatsApp group and ask the questions. All right? So wish you all a beautiful weekend. Sabbhetyo vivachantu sabbarogo vinassatu mate bhavatvantarayo sukhi digayuko bhavatu sabba mangalam rakhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanghanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te. May you all have a beautiful weekend. Yeah. Sabbityo vivachantu sabbarogo vinassatu mate bhavatvantarayo sukhi digayuko bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanghanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.